Hi everyone, it's Stephanie from Beadjoux, and today we're going to be learning the stepping stone bracelet. These are the examples that I have. And I'm going to be going through how you can create one of your own of these. The green one fits about a 7 to 7.5 inch bracelet. It uses 20 of the Czechmate tiles underneath to start off. This one is about 8.5. It slips over my hand. So, and this one uses 24. So, you can make it as big as you want. You just got to start off with the correct number of beads. And you go from there. All right, so the supplies that you'll need. You'll need Czechmate tiles, 2mm rounds, Czechmate bars, .6mm fire polish, .3mm Swarovski bicones, 8 demis, 11 seed beads, 15 seed beads, size 11 beading needles, beading thread, and scissors, and a beading mat. All right, so if you're ready, we'll get started. Alright, so today we're going to make the stepping stone bracelet, and first we're going to start off with making the base here, this underneath side, with the Czechmates and the 2mm rounds, and then we're going to build up the sides to create the top. And you notice if I try to make this bracelet, stay flat and straight, it kind of like, starts to get wonky. That's because it's supposed to be made for the curvature of the arm. So keep in mind that the smaller the wrist size, the less tension you need to have on the base. So you need to keep it a little bit looser if you're on the base and you have a really small wrist. If you have a really large wrist, then you can keep the tension, normal to tight, enough to be able to fit your needle in between later on. So we're going to start off with a base of 20 Czechmate tiles, which makes about a 7-inch bracelet. So with your needle threaded, you're going to pick up one Czechmate and one 2mm. You're going to do that 20 times. I'm going to try to keep my beading surface neat. I'm usually not very neat, so beads might start to run into each other. That should be about 20, so we'll count and see. All right, so that's our 20 beads. So we're going to be working our way back towards our tail. So here's our tail, and we're going to be working this way now on the other side, and we're going to be adding the 2mm rounds on the other side. So in order for us to turn and not be able to see the thread, we're going to pick up an 11, a demi, and 11. and go into the second hole, unoccupied hole of the tile bead, Czechmate bead that we're exiting. And then we're going to add a 2mm round in between each of the tiles, Czechmates. We're going to try to keep a 12-inch tail as well. We're going to use the tail to add our clasp on that side. Alright guys, we reached the end of our bracelet, so to finish off this one side, we're going to pick up 11/0 seed bead, demi, another 11/0. And we're going to travel back down through the second hole of the Czechmate tile, that first Czechmate tile that we used, and now the one that we are exiting, travel back down through the second hole. Then to solidify the tension, we're going to go back up through the hole again, through the first hole, through the 11/0, the demi, and the next 11/0. And now our tail thread is going to meet our working thread, and we're just going to tie a knot here. Our tail and our working thread. So keep it from moving. We're working with it, which is important. And don't tie it too tight that you can't kind of like fit a fingernail in between. Especially the smaller your bracelet is, make sure you have a little bit more wiggle room. So that way it can make that nice curve. So that should do it. So now we're going to travel back down through the Czechmate tile. Back up through the second hole of the Czechmate tile. Through the demi and through that next 11. We're going to start our next step. We're now going to start building the sides of this down through here, just the seed beads and the demis. So we're going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, a demi, another 3 11/0 seed beads, and 2 15s. Skipping over the tile bead, we're going to go into the next 2mm round. And we're going to travel back through. So back towards you in the way that I'm holding it. So it makes a loop. And we're going to pick up 115 and travel up through that 15 that is right next to the first 11. Okay, again, pick up 3 11s, a demi, 3 11s, and 2 15s. Travel back through the next 2mm, skipping over the Czechmate tile bead. Pick up a 15 and travel up through the 15 that is right next to the 11. The directionality of the way that you go through the 15 is important. It makes it stand up like a picot when you do it in this direction. If not, then it's going to cause the 15s to flip on each other, and that's not what we want. So 3 11s, excuse me. a demi, 3/11s, and 2/15s. Travel back through the 2mm, pick up a 15, and travel up through, back up through the 15 that is right next to the 11. And you're going to do this all the way down the bracelet. Okay, so now we're at the last tile bead. So what we're going to do is exiting that 15, the middle 15, we're going to pick up 3/11s, a demi, 3/11s. And we're going to go into the 11/0 seed bead that's at the end here. Through the demi, through the next 11. And now we turn to the other side of the bracelet. I just shot a bead across the room. All right, so now we're gonna start on this side, and we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did on the opposite side for the side that we're working on. So we're gonna pick up 3/11s, a demi, 3/11s, and 2/15s. Skipping over the Czechmate tile, gonna go back through the 2mm round. Pick up another 11 and travel up through the 15 that is right next to the 11. Okay, 3/11s, demi, 3/11s, 2/15s. Skip over the next tile bead and go into the next 2mm, traveling back through with your needle pointing back opposite the way that you're working. Pick up a 15, travel up through the 15 that is right next to the 11. And do that for the length of the bracelet. Okay, so now we're at the end of the bracelet, and we need to finish off the last loop over the last checkmate here before we go over to the other side. So we're going to pick up 3/11s, a demi, and 3/11s. And we're going to go into the 11, demi, 11 that's on the edge of the checkmate. So we're exiting that 11, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the next 3/11s right here, 1, 2, 3, and into the demi on the other side. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the top decorations, more specifically the 6mm fire polished and the bars, the checkmate bars. And this is going to be closing up this bracelet as well at the same time. So we're going to, exiting the demi, we're going to pick up a 6mm fire polished, and we're going to branch it over to the other side, to the demi and the other side. Pass through the demi. pass back through the 6mm fire polished and through the demi again on the side that we were currently working on. Pull it tight. So when you pull it tight, it starts to cup it together. So now we're going to go through 2 11s right after the demi. Pick up Czechmate bar, skip over the next 11, the 15 that's in the middle, and the next 11, and travel through the 2 11-0 seed beads right before the demi, and then through the demi. Okay, we're back at the demi again, another demi, so we're going to be picking up a 6mm fire polished, exiting the demi on one side, travel through the demi on the other side, pass back through the fire polish, and back through the demi. And the next 2 11-0 seed beads. Pick up a Czechmate bar, skip over the next 11-0, the 15-0 that's in the center, and the next 11-0, and travel through the 2 11-0s that are right before the next demi and continue through that demi. And back through the demi and the next 2 11-0 seed beads. Pick up Czechmate bar, skip over the next 11-0, the 15, the 11-0, and travel through the 2 11-0s that are right before the demi, and then continue through the demi. And you're going to repeat this all the way down the bracelet. Okay, exiting out of the last demi, we're going to go through 2 additional 11-0 seed beads. We're going to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and go through 2 11-0 seed beads that are just before the demi on the other side. So that'd be those 2. Then we're going to go through the demi and through the other 2 seed beads, 11-0 seed beads that are right after the demi, so 5 beads altogether. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the bar that is on the other side, bridging across from the other side, and we're going to travel through that second hole in that bar, the unoccupied hole. And then we're going to skip over the 11-0, the 15-0, and the 11-0 that's in the center, and then travel through the 2 11-0s that are right before the next demi, and then the 2 11-0s that's right after the demi. Just like that. So see, starting to cup around it. Again, go through the second unoccupied hole in the bar. Skip over the 11, the 15, the 11, and travel in the 2 11-0s that's right before the next demi, and the next 2 11-0s. And you're going to repeat that all the way down the bracelet. Alright, so after we put the last bar in, we went through our 2 seed beads right before the demi and then through the demi. We're going to continue through the next 2 11-0 seed beads. Pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. And travel through the 2 11-0 seed beads just before the demi on the other side. Then continue through the demi. So it makes the bracelet look like that. Alright, so now we're going to continue through the 2 11-0 seed beads again, and we're going to be adding our crystals for our decoration here. We're essentially like stitching a crystal on top of the bar. So you're going to pick up a 3mm bicone, skip over the bar, and go into the 2 11-0 seed beads on the other side. Through the demi and through the next 2 11-0 seed beads. Again, pick up a 3mm bicone, skip over the bar, go into the 5 seed beads on the other side. And you're going to continue that all the way down. Okay, so we just added the last crystal on the one side, and before we move on to the other side to add the crystals around this side, we're going to add one side of the clasp. So what we're going to do is, before we continue on, we're going to tie a 1/2 hitch knot just to be sure that if it breaks at the point of the clasp, the rest of the bracelet won't fall apart. We're going to continue through the next 2 11-0 seed beads right after the demi, the last demi. We're going to pick up 2 15s, go through one end of our clasp, another 2 15s. And we're going to skip over the 3 seed beads that we added in the previous step, and the 2 seed beads that are going down towards where the tile is and right before the bottom demi, that's what we're going to go through. Then go through the demi, seed bead, 11-0 seed bead right next to the demi. The next 11-0 seed bead. We're going to start to pull it tight. And you can see that it just kind of sits in that gap that was in between all those seed beads. And so what we're going to do is we're going to repeat our thread path through those 15-0 seed beads and through the clasp and the round that we did one more time just to make sure it's secure. Go back through the 15-0 seed beads, the clasp again, and the 15-0 seed beads on the other side of the clasp. Okay, once we exit that last 15-0 seed bead and we secured it, we're going to go up through the 2 seed beads that are right next to the demi on the other side to start this crystals on the other side. And before we continue, we're going to tie a 1/2 hitch knot right in front of this demi. 1/2 hitch knot, make a loop, Go through the loop twice. Make sure it sits in between two of the seed beads and pull tight. That's it. Continue through the demi and through the next 11 seed beads, 2 11 seed beads. Pick up a crystal, skip over the bar, go through the 5 seed beads that are on the other side of the bar. Pick up a crystal, skip over the bar, go through the 5 seed beads that are on that side. You usually go through 4 in one motion, and then the 5th one I have to grab at the end because it curves back. Crystal, skip over the bar, go through the 5 seed beads. Alright, and you're going to repeat that all the way down the bracelet. Alright, so that was the last, we just added the last crystal on the other side of the bracelet. So as you can see, the bracelet is just about completed. It's the underside of it. It's not really meant to like lay straight because like you see it just kind of bunches up together. So it's meant for the curve of the wrist. So that's what it looked like when it's curved around your wrist. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finalize this by adding the last part of the clasp. We're going to exit the last demi here on the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a half hitch knot before we add our clasp. Pull tight. Travel through the next 2 11 seed beads. Pick up 2 15s, travel through the other side of the clasp, and then another 2 15s, all right, and we're going to go through, we're going to skip over the 3 seed beads that we added in one of the previous steps that branch over the top part of the crystal, and we're going to go through the bottom 2 11 seed beads. So there's 2 11 seed beads, the demi, and then 2 seed beads on this side. So we're going to go through these 2 11 seed beads, the demi, and the next 2 11 seed beads on that other side of the demi. And that brings us back to the starting point of where the 15s are. And then we're just going to repeat the thread path. Go through the 15s, the clasp, go through the 2 11 seed beads that are down by the bottom next to the demi. Go through the demi, through the 2 11 seed beads, following that demi. And then again through the 15s and the clasp. All right, and then up through the 2 11s that are right next to the demi that's up on top, right up there. All right, and before you go through the demi, again, tie a half hitch knot. And since this is the final end of the bracelet, we're going to want to do a couple half hitch knots. So do one before you go into the demi, pull tight. Travel through the demi. Do another half hitch knot on this side. right, and then we're gonna cut off our threads. Thank you again, guys, for joining us. And on behalf of everyone at Beadjoux, we hope that you keep creating.